Welcome to the final round of the 2015 FIM Superbike World Championship from the Losail International Circuit in Qatar. Just outside the country's capital city, Doha, 5.4 million watts of power have been pumped into the lighting here so that we can see out the year under the lights in fine style. 24 races down, 2 to go. Coming up today, Jori Torres has been really quick so far this weekend. Can he find glory at the last hurdle? Ducati pairing, Forres and Davies start from 3rd and 4th. Can they stop the men in green? He did it again yesterday with another pole position, but Tom Sykes needs wins. And world champion Jonathan Rea isn't done yet. There's just one more record left to take. Good evening and welcome to the Losail International Circuit here in Qatar for the final round of the 2015 season. Here is the circuit then, of course, home to Sylvain Guintoli's World Championship win just last year. He got the lap record on the way, constructed back in 2004, and of course, as you can see, the only night round of the year under the lights. Spectacular way to finish the season. Steve Day here alongside Greg Haynes to bring you the final couple of races of the year. And there is the moon as well. Brilliant view of that. Weather clear, as you can see, 32 degrees air temperature, 37 degrees Celsius track. Humidity not as high as it has been in previous days, 57% at the moment. So we may well have a champion crowned already, but 2nd and 3rd still up for grabs. Tom Sykes and Chaz Davies will battle that one out here today. Tom Sykes will start from pole position ahead of Jonathan Rea. Harry Forres it is that is 3rd on the grid ahead of his teammate Chaz Davies, but more on that in a moment. Greg Haynes, what a season it has been. Of course, we rolled out in February in Australia, and here we are now in October for Qatar, the final round of the championship. Can this man break the all-time points record in a single season?
Well, I certainly think he can, Steve. He only needs that one more victory and, of course, 2 more races. 50 more points up for grabs here this evening in mid-October for the climax of the 2015 World Superbike Championship. He's already 3rd, Jonathan Rea, for most points in one season. He's behind the 2002 tallies at the moment of Troy Bayliss and Colin Edwards, who lead the way. But he's absolutely desperate to walk away with that record. It would be an incredible one, and one we might not even see beaten for a long, long time. It's an absolutely massive points lead, 145 ahead of Chaz Davies, as that battle goes on, as you say, between Davies and Sykes for 2nd overall.
Here we see some slow-mo shots of Jonathan Rea then. What a fine, relaxed style that is from Jonathan. Has been so successful here this weekend. It's all going to be about tyre life, though, in this race. Front tyre choices, the same as they had in Jerez. And, of course, if you remember back there, it was even a race where we didn't have a Kawasaki on the podium. So how will they fare? Well, we'll find out. Chaz Davies there in good spirits. He'll start from 4th on the grid. And, of course, he's looking to try and wrap up 2nd in the championship. He's currently 16 points clear of Tom Sykes in that battle. I have to say, as it stands, you'd probably say that Chaz Davies deserves it. Without those bad rounds in Thailand and in Imola, he'd probably be home and drive for 2nd overall. But as it is, he's still got to fight it out. And of course, the man he fights out for 2nd place with, Tom Sykes, will be starting from pole position, as we see here a replay of Chaz Davies. Whatever happens, we know for sure that Chaz has had a brilliant end to the season. Spoke to Ernesto Maranello just a couple of days ago, and he said that he is absolutely over the moon with Chaz and is looking forward to 2016.
Yes, many people expected great things, didn't they, from Ducati this year, and it certainly has been a very strong season. They've finished 2nd, of course, in the manufacturer standings. Kawasaki's already wrapped that one up for the first time, and later on, by the way, They're looking to become the first ever manufacturer to win both World Supersport and World Superbike in terms of the Manufacturers' Championship in the very same season. So we'll see what happens later on with World Supersport. In terms of local time, we're just coming up to 7 o'clock. It's 25 minutes to 7 here, local time in Qatar. First race starts at 7. Race 2 starts 3 hours after that at 10 local time. So plenty of action coming up. Final round of the season, the only night round on the season. Qatar debuted in World Superbike back in 2005. It ran through for a few years to 2009, then we had a 4-year break, came back last year, and that was the first night round here at Losail.
Just a quick update for you right now before we get any further. Christoph Ponson will start race 1 from pit lane as per ART 1.2, which is engine ruling, too many engines used, and Matteo Boiocco, after a crash yesterday in Superpole, has been checked out and unfortunately will not race. He's broken his 3rd, 4th and 5th metacarpal in his right foot. So get well soon, Matteo. We hope to see you again soon.
I went down to see him in the Altea garage earlier on this evening, Steve. He had that leg and that foot in plaster up on a chair, and he said, I'm reckoning this will be about 3 weeks out. So a bit of a holiday for Boiocco, an early one, unfortunately, and then back in action for testing. This man, Jordi Torres, very likely the last time we'll see him on an Aprilia, and it could be a rather stunning weekend, we do believe. He's gone very well in practice so far. We're imagining that he will be signing up, and people are already saying there might already be an agreement in place between Torres, Altea and BMW going into 2016. That remains to be seen. For now, it's Aprilia Red Devils for himself and Leon Haslam for one final round this year. What about this man then? Xavi Forés substituting for the injured Davide Giuliano. He stuck the Ducati on the front row of the grid.
Yeah, good effort there from Xavi. He did benefit slightly from a tow from Jonathan Rea, but nonetheless he's done very good here. There are rumours that he could find himself on a Ducati next year in the paddock, not with the Aruba team, but possibly he's been linked with Barney Racing. What that means for Leandro Mercado, I don't know, but certainly Forés is impressed when he's visited us a couple of times so far this season in the World Superbike paddock. And this is after, of course, a big crash at the start of the weekend, and he's been limping around the paddock. As for other news, well, there's quite a lot of it here this weekend. Marco Melandri's name, as ever, pops into our minds. His name's been brought up this weekend. He's been linked to move to MV Agusta, believe it or not. We were convinced that was going to be a one-man team next year. Maybe not. This is Alex Lowe's. We know what he's doing next season, and he'll be, of course, moving over to the Yamaha, staying with the same team. It will be Crescent Yamaha, but with Qatar sponsorship. Spoke to him earlier on, Greg, and he's very, very excited to jump aboard the new R1. But of course, he's looking to go out with a bang, and it's just worth remembering here the loyalty being shown here, but not just Paul Denning, but by Alex Lowe's as well. That will be 3 and 4 years, respectively, they'll be together by the time they come to the end of the Yamaha reign.
And they've gone through so many emotions, haven't they, this year? Alex Lowe's in particular started off the year buoyant, I would say. Then there was a bit of happiness after Thailand with a podium. Then they went through a real patch of desperation, and finally some optimism for Lowe's and for Crescent, switching, of course, to Yamaha technology with Sylvain Guintoli alongside him next year. This man, Michael Vandermark, he's going nowhere, staying with the 10 Carter organisation. And Honda, of course, teamed up next year with 2006 MotoGP World Champion Nicky Hayden, and that's believed to be bringing along all sorts of sponsors and financial backing. This could be a real threat next year. We don't know what colour we're going to see the bike in yet either, do we? Pata sponsorship will be going over to Yamaha and Crescent, so we may well be seeing a very different colour for these Hondas next year.
Quite possibly. Will they be in that traditional 10 Carter yellow, or will there be something else? We understand a number of sponsors, as you say, Greg, coming in potentially, and had a chance to catch up with Ronald Tenkate, who informs me that, well, things are looking good for next year. I asked whether or not there'd be a new Fireblade on the horizon, because I'd obviously, and most people, had heard that there wouldn't be. And he said, let's not answer that question right now. And he had a big smile on that face. He looks like the Grinch, by the way, when he's got a big grin on his face. But he certainly wasn't grumpy. He seemed very happy indeed with his new signings. And so we will certainly look out for that one. Michael Vandermark today, by the way. Keep an eye out for him from 9th on the grid. He was spectacular in free practice 3. Now, what about this man here? Leon Haslam, number 91. Had a really poor couple of rounds, but that's not really been down to him. He's still looking for a ride, Greg. And if the rumours are to be believed around the paddock, rides are actually starting to go left, right and centre, which does leave you wondering where Leon Haslam will end up.
And the reason for that is we are now starting to see more indications of which manufacturers will be going with which teams. Of course, we know Crescent here, they're currently with Suzuki, they'll be with Yamaha. We know Tenkata staying with Honda. We know Altea pretty much almost certainly will be with BMW. And of course, nobody at the moment can really sign for anybody if you don't exactly know what you're signing for. But Leon Haslam linked with all kinds of different names, including Altea, including Pedicini. They're, of course, currently running Kawasaki's. Let's just hope, though, for the good of Leon Haslam. Don't forget, he's one of only 4 different race winners this year. The only race winner on the 2015 grid currently out of a job. That's the bare truth of it for 2016. So best of luck for Leon Haslam as they now start to make their way out of the pit lane on the initial sighting. Now they've got just over 4 minutes now to make their way around to the grid. They can come back in if they want to and go back out there for a second sighting lap, as many as they like actually, within the next 4 minutes. Here then is the outgoing world champion of 2014. You said at the top of the programme what an incredible weekend this was for Sylvain Guintoli last year. Started 5th in the middle of row 2, came through to win both races. His only double so far, took the lap record as well along the way, and went home with the 2014 world title on an Aprilia in his pocket. Very next day, he was announced with Pata Honda, and as we already know, it's off to Yamaha for 2016.
Leandro Mercado then, last year's Superstock 1000 European champion. Might just be a bit concerned to hear that Forres has been linked to his ride for next year. Barney Racing, incidentally, haven't actually confirmed that they'll definitely be on the grid at all for next season, but there have been certainly more discussions going on here in Qatar than we've had in the last couple of rounds. There's a British fan. Who are you cheering on? Sykes, Ray, Davey, Taslim, Lowe's, Camia? No, she's just happy to be there, and she cheers as Chaz Davis exits pit lane. Chaz, who's been keeping one eye on the Rugby World Cup. Of course, he was a bit upset to see Wales exiting yesterday, but at the moment, he's got to focus on second place in the championship. Now then, with Sykes and Ray starting first and second, I mentioned at the start with these tyres, you said that we won't know tyres until closer to the race, but if indeed Jonathan Ray and Tom Sykes have gone for the same front tyres that they had in Jerez, then we definitely need to keep our eyes on this race, certainly when we get to the three-quarter distance stage, because they really struggled in Jerez, Greg. They weren't at it, and Jonathan Ray in particular, who's been so successful with that SC2 front, hasn't got that at his disposal here for this weekend.
Yeah, and we know that this circuit here, 5.3 kilometres in length, 3.3 miles, but there's some very medium and high-speed corners in the middle of the lap, sweeping, long, right and left-handers, very, very abrasive for that front tyre. So they do need to be extremely careful, particularly in the second half, the final third of the race. Watch out for front-end washouts. They'll definitely be bearing that in mind. And as soon as we do have the final tyre selection sheet up from Pirelli, of course, they can make changes up to the 3-minute board before the warm-up lap gets underway. As soon as the warm-up lap is underway, we will let you know. So let's see what they do in terms of the tyres. Of course, it's a very different kind of event anyway. We were talking about this last night. The night air feels very different out the back of the circuit. You don't have the usual distractions of buildings around or trees or grandstands or anything really like that. There's just the one grandstand. You're almost on your own out there, with the exception, of course, of the shadows and the rivals around you. Now, this one's had a bit of a nightmare weekend so far. We're with Guintoli now, creeping his way down to the dummy grid, if you like, pulling up, unfortunately for him, last round on a Honda in 13th position. There's his teammate, Michael Vandermark. He will be starting a little bit further up on the back of row 3 in 9th, but Guintoli's had engine problems, he's had electronic problems this weekend, so let's just hope there's no more technical issues and he can fight his way up through the order, because we know the Honda, particularly Vandermark, looking pretty handy to say the very least here.
Yes, I think both Hondas could. Sylvain Guintoli has always been that Sunday man, though. His qualifying has not been good for him so far this year. He's always come on strong towards the end of races. If he can get himself a good start, and both Hondas have been pretty good at doing that so far this season, you just never know. The great thing is they're so easy to spot in a race as well. So look out for those two white Pata Hondas of Michael Vandermark and Sylvain Guintoli. Both riders seem to get the best out of their tyres as well. The same can't quite be said for this man that we're on board with here, making his way onto pole position. So many people suggesting that the tactics need to change a bit here for Tom Sykes, who of course is so strong over one lap. 30 pole positions, incidentally, means that he now pushes 4 clear of Troy Bayliss, still second of all time. Not quite close enough to Troy Corser, but over one lap, Tom Sykes certainly has it nailed. But in race distance this season, so many times he has led races and has dropped away.
I asked him last night, I said, Tom, look, I hate asking this question, but people will be asking. We know fans are asking, of course, on the social networks, Twitter, Facebook and everything else. Can you get to the end of the race without the tyre going off? And he sort of laughed. He said, we've made a few changes. And then please stop telling on everyone to stop asking those questions. Jonathan Rea was in the interview room at the time. He said, oh, that's me. I'm sending all of those tweets in. So there's a bit of banter going on and good laughter between the two teammates last night. But it will certainly be, of course, in the back of Tom Sykes' mind. Can he just get to the end of the race? It's a question of adaptation. He's got to be so smooth early on in the race. How many times this year has he pulled away into the distance? And his tyres have dropped off the cliff and he's dropped a long, long way back down the order. So Tom Sykes has taken the Tissot Super Pole trophy this year. This, in the meantime, is the Pirelli Best Lap Award. 11 so far then for Jonathan Rea. Way more than anybody else. Might even make it 13 before the end of the season as crew chief Pere Riba steps into shots. A few last-minute discussions there. 17 laps in front of them then. Don't forget, both races of equal duration, as is always the case. So that's just over 90 kilometres, just under 60 miles of racing in each of the two races tonight. We're now 14 minutes away from the start of race one.
Yeah, and when you look at it like that, 60 miles is quite a long time to try and keep your tyre in good order, especially when they're going as quick as they are. Here is Tom Sykes then, picking up yet another Tissot watch. Ziad Nehme, the Tissot regional manager, is just handing that one over to Tom. He's certainly used to signing a few camera lenses now.
Has Tom opened that shop yet? I remember back in Jerez you were talking about him opening a Tissot watch shop. Haven't seen anything of that.
No, it was more me having a joke, really. But I understand that he does give most of them away. He's given a few away to various charities and stuff like that as well. So it's not a situation where he has a Tissot shrine back at his home in Huddersfield.
It's good you said it was a joke, because I've been looking all over the internet. I really believed you when you said that back in Spain.
Were you looking to get some at half price, maybe?
It's Xavi Forest, and it really is a Noah's Ark grid, isn't it, here? 2x2 by 2x2. 2 Kawasaki's, 2 Ducatis, 2 Aprilias and 2 Suzukis in the top 8. So this is the leading Aruba Ducati. Steve mentioned before he was in the tow, Xavi Forest, of Jonathan Rea at the end of Super Pole 2 yesterday. He sticks it on the front row of the grid for the first time in his career. I said, will he be helping out Chaz Davis? Or at least bearing that in mind. You've got Tom Sykes in front of you, your teammate Chaz Davis behind you, who of course is battling Sykes for second overall. I don't think Forrest is out there to help as such, but he's certainly going to be bearing it in mind. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did see Forrest releasing Davis if they're running together very early on in the race. There's the engine allocation, bottom of the screen, no problems there, as you can see. For Jonathan Rea, 3 of the 7 permitted engines have been removed from the allocation. 4 remain. You can toggle between those 4 at any moment now. But as we have seen with the likes of course, Christoph Pontzen, he will be starting from the pit lane here tonight in race 1 for exceeding that engine allocation.
Yeah, Christoph Pontzen, who managed to just catch up with yesterday afternoon, said he's absolutely in love with this circuit. He said it's one of his favourite of the year, and he's not thinking about next year at the moment because he hasn't got a ride secured. He just wants to enjoy the moment, and quite right too. Here is Tom Sykes then, keeping himself cool. It is very, very hot and muggy here this weekend, and Tom just putting on his favourite music. I wonder what Tom's listening to in his earphones right now as he builds up ready for this final race of the season. Of course, both Kawasaki riders will soon be switching their attention to the brand new Kawasaki ZX-10 that they'll be racing in 2016.
If it's anything like the season so far, it's probably something along the lines of, I want to break free. But the question is, can he stay in front before the race comes to an end? We will find out, won't we? Surely he can do it though, Steve. It's just a question of adaptation, isn't it? Surely more than anything else. He's just got to adjust the riding style, setup of the bike. He did say also in the interview yesterday that they have made a few setup changes. So let's see what he can do this time. Then they'll be back to square one, if you like, with the new bike, which was presented to the gathered media, including myself, in Barcelona last week. They'll start testing with that bike at Aragon in about 2 weeks' time. But Jonathan Rea would actually miss the first 2 days of testing because there's a new arrival coming along. They'll be giving birth. Tash will be giving birth, that is, his wife, of course, to the second of their 2 sons. Jake will be joined by a new brother, and they apparently are looking to call him something beginning with a T. That's not a joke. So what about Tom? So no, probably won't be Tom, but it will begin with a T.
Well, could be naming it 24, because that could be how many podiums he'll end up with this season. That was poor, wasn't it? I don't know why I just said that. As we just see here, Chaz, 100 World Superbike races. Well, there we go. That's an interesting one. But a bit of a debate about that one over the weekend. Some people suggesting it was in the second race maybe for Chaz Davies, the 100 races. But anyway, this weekend, here today, Chaz Davies, 100 World Superbike races.
The problem is with those things, you've got different sources and different statistics, haven't you? And it's race starts and race presences, and sometimes the rider himself might include one as a start when in fact there'd been a red flag and the race was restarted, or perhaps he didn't take the restart or whatever. That's the reason we sometimes get some disparity in those. But yes, he hits the century at some point between now and 10 o'clock tonight. This is Jori Torres, and now starts 6th on the grid. He's been absolutely rapid. Look at him as well. Look at the eyes. Look at the focus there. Jordi Torres knows he can very much finish on the podium, and if not more here tonight, he may well be en route to a first World Superbike victory. They're much quicker than anybody else, those are pretty as in a straight line, just as we saw with Sylvain Guintoli here last year, and race pace looks very good as well for Jordi Torres. He was making a few mistakes at turn 15 earlier in the weekend. He's dialed out those errors now. He looks very, very strong. And when they get halfway down the start-finish straight, from 4th gear onwards, those Aprilias are absolutely rapid. This is Alex Lowe's in the meantime then, the leading of those two Crescent Suzukis. Crescent and Suzuki, of course, parting company end of the year. And Alex Lowe starts this final round of the season 7th on the grid, and his teammates joining him on that 3rd row. 3rd row is Lowe, De Punier, and as we saw earlier on, Michael Vandermark.
So Alex Lowe's then, what can he do in his final race of the season? He lines up alongside his teammate Randy De Punier, who's had a terrible season so far. Not been in the top 10 since the opening round at Phillip Island. We'll look to put that right. There's Ollie holding the umbrella for her husband, Leon Haslam. The whole family here this weekend, including his mum, dad, Ron and Anne, and his 2 kids as well, Max and Ava. Very much a family affair for Leon Haslam, week in, week out. But he is now looking to end the weekend with a couple of podiums, and ideally a couple of wins as well. One thing's for sure, he'll have his work cut out beating his teammate here today. That's probably just about the most focused I think I've ever seen Jordi Torres when we saw him a moment ago. Of course, ever the joker, but this weekend, as Greg just rightly pointed out, there really is that feeling that Jordi could produce something here. He's not had a double podium yet in World Superbike. That could change here today. Here is Randy De Punier then, Volcom Crescent Suzuki rider. Will he stay in motorcycle racing? Will he move teams? We're not quite sure just yet, but sadly, the statistics just get worse and worse. You don't want to look on the left there at that record. It's not looking too pretty. An average of 1.6 points per race for Randy De Punier, which is a pretty ugly statistic, and I'm sure he'll be over the moon to get this season actually done and dusted.
Just looking down the tyre selection sheet that we have received now from Pirelli, there's all sorts of changes. Now, don't forget that could actually change, because up to the 3-minute signal, which is about 3 minutes from now, we'll have the 3-minute signal. They need to decide by then, but for now they could still make some changes. So let's just wait for a moment to get the absolute final confirmation on the tyres. But I do suspect we're going to have quite a mix up and down the grid. For the record, in terms of slicks, there are 3 different fronts available here and 3 different rears as well. So we'll let you know about that in a minute. There's your final look then across that 3rd row. Lowe's, De Punier, Vandermark, as we said. Leandro Mercado, will it be his final round for Barney Ducati? He's been very, very consistent. He's been the rider who's gone through more times from Superpole 1 to Superpole 2. Certainly a midfield rider, of course. He'll be lining up 10th. There goes the Alpha 4C away on its own little warm-up lap, if you like, for the penultimate time this year. Down into turn 1. Look how spectacular the car looks under the lighting. Enough power generated by these lights to power 70 FIFA football pitches.
Yeah, well, speaking of FIFA, of course, Qatar looking forward to hosting a World Cup here in 2022. So all sorts going on in this country at the moment. Here's Leandro Mercado. By the way, when it comes to the tyres, you are absolutely spot on, Greg. They do have obviously a little time to change, but in conditions like this, when there's absolutely no chance of rain in this first race, they've run out of time now to actually change. They're not going to be changing now. They'll have probably had this decision made right at the end of warm-up. So what the sheets that you have in front of you at the moment, I would pretty much guarantee are absolutely the tyres that these guys are going to start with as the tyre warmers get peeled off the front there of Jonathan Ray's machine. David Salom, Pedicini, Kawasaki. What can he do from 11th on the grid? In truth, he could do with a couple of decent results just to kind of take the sting out of what has been a really, really difficult season for the Spaniard, starting really with that big crash into the final turn at Phillip Island at the opening round of the season.
So looking down the tyres, we might as well tell you now, we've got a few moments before we go to the graphics, of course, for the final starting grid of the season, well, this penultimate race and the final round of the season. And it certainly looks as though those at the front, well, they've gone for the B all across the front compound, Steve, in terms of the rear. Now, we won't go into too much detail about each tyre. Of course, they've gone for what's best for themselves based on the 4 practice sessions we've had. And don't forget, free practice 4 here came after Super Pole because of TV schedules, so they could set at the bike and go for tyre choice, knowing where they were starting on the grid. So front row of the grid, rear tyres this is, if you want to write this down at home. B rear for Sykes, Ray and Forrest. They're all on the same compound. Davis as well, but then you've got changes. You've got the likes of Haslam and Torres, they've gone for the A. No coincidence there, they're on a different bike. Lowe's and Depunier, they've gone for the A. So you're seeing a bit of a trend there. So those on the A compound are Haslam, Torres, Lowe's, Depunier and Mercado. All the rest of the top 12 are on the B compound rear.
Interesting stuff then. So you just see there, Genesio Bevilacqua just giving Nicolo Canepa of well-wishing and a handshake before he goes out. Here's Anthem Badavini, number 86. What will he be doing next year? Team manager Piero Guidi has made some suggestions to Greg that maybe his team might not be here next year. Of course, with BMW linked to Genesio Bevilacqua's Altea team. Where does that leave BMW? Where does that leave Ayrton Badavini? Just a big question mark for this Italian at the moment, who's really struggled in these last couple of races. Don't know whether he's struggling in confidence or whether it's just that feeling of not knowing what the future holds.
One more quick word then on tyres in the top 12, and this is about front tyres, and this is particularly interesting because remember we said earlier on, very abrasive track, front tyres may well be dropping off more than the rears in the final third or so of the race. Now there's 3 different compounds available. I'm going to focus here on the C compound, which is the harder, more durable compound on the front of the 3. So in theory a little bit less grip, but a bit more confidence, a more consistent tyre and less risky, you could say. Who's gone for that one? Only 2 riders, Jonathan Ray and Sylvain Guintoli.
Here we go then, it's Forres third on the grid. The champion, Jonathan Ray, will line up second, but for the 30th time in his World Superbike career, Tom Sykes will start from pole. We have 2 races left in the 2015 World Superbike Championship. Let's take a look at the grid then for the Pirelli Qatar round here in Losail. Sykes on pole from Ray and Forres, followed by Davies, Haslam and Torres on row 2. Further back on row 3, we have Alex Lowe's, Randy Depunier and Michael Vandermark, followed by Leandro Mercado, David Salom and Sylvain Guintoli. We have Canepa, Badavini and Camia on row 5, and then Ramos, Vizziello and Rismaier on row 6. And then Phyllis, Toth and Ponson. But at the bottom of your screen there, you can see confirmation that Ponson will start the race from pit lane.
Away they go then, penultimate warm-up lap of the season for World Superbike, and as you can see, as always, they do not need to stay in the order they've qualified. Top of the screen then, Losail first hosted a World SBK event back in 2005. That was not under floodlights, of course, that was very much in the day, and those first events ran right through consecutively until 2009. It was Jori Torres who won the very first race here after Regis Laconi had taken the pole position. There's your further confirmation. There was then a 4-year break. We came back in 2014 last year and we were under lights for the first time. Sylvain Guintoli took both of the victories, and incidentally he's the only rider in this field right now who's actually won a race here at Losail. Most wins there, nobody's won more than 2. Guintoli one of them, Ben Spies, James Toseland and Troy Corser, including of course that very first one 10 years ago. We're about a 20-minute drive outside the Qatari capital city of Doha. Doha, a relatively new country, of course, in terms of heritage and history. Just borders Saudi Arabia to the south. We're not too far away, of course, from the likes of Bahrain and Abu Dhabi in this region. And this is, in total, the 7th World Superbike event to have been hosted here at Losail. Interestingly then, as you saw at the top of the screen there, Suzuki is actually the most successful manufacturer at this circuit. 5 wins for Suzuki, and of course that's helped by the fact that we had that 4-year break, 2010 through to 2013. Talking of Suzuki, that was a Grillini Kawasaki on the screen there, and there's certainly a feeling that Grillini might be keeping Suzukis in the field next year. We were wondering whether somebody might go for a Suzuki next year until that new bike comes out in 17. So watch out for Andrea Grillini's team, maybe running Suzuki's next year.
Here they come then around turn 15 and now slowly down into turn 16, ready to make their way onto the long start-finish straight. And then we will proceed with the final 2 races of the World Superbike season. World Supersport coming up later, stay tuned for that. Who will win the last 2 races of the season? Will it be Kawasaki's again? Will the Aprilias get themselves a decent result at the end of the season? Can the Ducatis spring a surprise? What about Suzuki's and Hondas? We're about to find out. Tom Sykes on pole. There's his brother Anthony looking on. The whole Kawasaki team on both sides of the garage got the winning manufacturer t-shirts out here today. There is Jonathan Rea second on the grid, and Chaz there lining up on 4th.
And a poor start here can hurt you more than it can in other tracks. There's a lot of flowing corners in the middle of the lap, so if you drop back into the middle of the field, it can be difficult here at Losail to get back up into the group at the front. Watch out for the Aprilias in particular when they come out of that second gear final corner in the background there. They're very, very quick indeed down this kilometre-long start-finish straight. Here we go.
We look to the lights in the top left corner as we begin the 25th of 26 races for 2015. Bit of a delay here, and Leon Camia's got his arms up in the air there, ready to stop. I don't know what's happening, but the lights have gone out nonetheless, and Camia hasn't got going. Sykes gets away from the line. There is Jonathan Rea in second place. Javi Forres still there in third, and here comes Leon Haslam up the inside as well, but it's Jonathan Rea, the world champion, that gets off to the best start. One of the Aprilias getting really caught up there. Chaz Davies very aggressive from the word go. Also, for Alex Lowe, who's up to 4th.
Great start for Lowe's. Camia indeed stuck on the grid. He was hoping they would delay the start. He obviously did not have that treatment, and Camia stuck on the starting grid and out of the race before it's even begun. But look at these 2 Kawasaki's then up the front of the field. David Salom in the middle of turn 1 nearly ran into somebody, not for the first time this year, but for now then, there is the MV already out of the race. Leon Camia is out.
Oh, such a shame for the MV Augusta rider, and already here comes a move, maybe from Jonathan Rea, but he just settles. But Chaz Davies has now got himself up to second. An aggressive start then for the Ducati rider. And look at Alex Lowe on the Volcom Crescent Suzuki there in 4th place. You mentioned that record for Suzuki's. He looks like he wants to keep that one ticking.
He certainly does. 5 wins for Suzuki then here since 2005. Sykes leads Davis, then it's Rea. Lowe's, as you say, 4th. Haslam has recovered from an initially difficult situation over there at turn 1, as Leon Haslam's already been grabbed by Italian television down in pit lane. Torres is 6th. Forres has dropped down then into 7th. Javi Forres from the front row of the grid now running 7th. Vandermark is 8th. Gintoli's up to 9th. Great start for Gintoli. Up to 9th, that's 4 places from 13th on the grid. And Tati Mikado is 10th. So the Suzuki of Depunier has gone backwards. He's gone from 8th to 11th.
Few blue flames popping out of the rear exhaust there of the Volcom Crescent Suzuki as we look at Alex Lowe's. His final 2 races on board that machine. He'd like to go off with a bang here, wouldn't he? Tom Sykes it is, though, that leads. And how many times have we said that here this season? He does not like sitting behind anyone. He loves to look at a clear bit of circuit. There are the 2 Aprilias, including Torres, then Forres. There is Michael Vandermark, the Dutchman, number 60. Just behind him is his teammate, although he's got a bit of a gap to bridge.
As they're in 3rd, 4th, 5th gear up to 6th as they get down the end of this 1,068-metre start-finish straight. Anybody making the move? The Aprilia's not close enough to Lowe's this time. Jonathan Rea almost carrying a bit too much speed there into turn 1. He's on the right-hand side of your picture. How close is Lowe's? He's right behind Jonathan Rea now. And wow, we've got a real freight train here on lap 2 of 17. Sykes with the advantage from Davis. Now then, what's going to happen this time? We need to keep a close eye on rear tyres and, of course, front tyres as well. Don't forget, though, Gintoli and in particular Jonathan Rea is on a harder compound front tyre to all of these other guys around, and that really could help him later on in this race.
You can see on the left of your screen the up and down arrows, of course, that's from their grid positions. So Chaz Davies has moved up a couple of places from where he was on the grid. A few others have struggled, like Forres, for example. Davies' teammate from 3rd on the grid down to 7th at the moment. We were on board with Davies. We're now on board with Davies, sorry, looking back at Jonathan Rea.
Honson away well as well, by the way, from the pit lane. No major issues. He's running 20th and last because, of course, Camia is out of the race. So just the 1 retirement so far. That was unfortunate because Camia managed to wave about, didn't he, before the lights came on. And unfortunately, he either just wasn't spotted or the starter decided to start the race anyway. Whatever. It's academic now. Camia out. So great to see Alex Lowe here, the number 22, the 2013 British Superbike champion, having by far his best race of the season so far. This is absolutely incredible what we're seeing here. We know he's got the Yamaha deal in his pocket now for next year, but this is absolutely superb. And look at Jonathan Rea now, right up behind Davis. This is that battle for second in the race.
Oh, here comes a move already from Jonathan Rea. That would be brave into turn 15, and if he can get himself a nice line coming out of the last corner here coming up, he might just have a chance of getting him. Oh, he's doing it already. Why wait until the start-finish straight? Jonathan Rea moves up the inside of Chaz Davies then and goes into first place. Maybe he's in a bit of a hurry for a change because he's worried himself about the front tyre life in this race. Who knows? But nevertheless, Chaz Davies is going to bite back immediately. He pulls out of the slipstream here on this long start-finish straight and will surely move back up into second. No, Jonathan is late on the brakes in the background. The two Aprilia is still there in 5th and 6th. And there is a bit of... Oh, Chaz Davies there. Saw a bit of a gap opening up as Davies ran slightly wide going into turn 1, but they stay in 1st and 2nd and 3rd for now.
Yes, Davies almost lost the front end there down into turn 1. It was interesting to see that Davies was right behind Jonathan Rea in the slipstream down the start-finish straight, but Rea was in front when they got to the finish line. Watch out for that later. Look at that at the bottom of your screen. Almost 0.6 of a second then, quicker than last year's lap record already from Silva Gintoli. Absolutely destroyed Tom Sykes with incredible pace at the moment early on in this race. But how excited should Tom Sykes fans be getting about that? We've said that so many times early on this year. He's insisting that he has made some setup changes. Jonathan Rea, incidentally, put in a very strong 7-lap run in the warm-up earlier on tonight, and at the moment he's closing in on his teammate. Look at this.
We know that there's been a fair bit of British domination this season so far, but that is certainly true at the moment on your screen because we've got 5 of them in the top 5. Jori Torres is in 6th place, just ahead of Forres, who's struggling a bit in the early stages ahead of Vandermark and Gintoli. Expected the Hondas to move up from there. Alex Lowe's, without doubt, is the surprise package here. Not surprising in terms of his talent, we know he's got it, but this is brilliant stuff from the Volcom Suzuki. He is not being dropped either there. He's right on the tail of number 7 there on the Ducati, Chaz Davies.
Started 7th on the grid and 4th now. Remarkable stuff from Alex Lowe. What's happening further back, but outside the top 10 now is Mercado. He's been passed by Randy de Punier. Salom's just passed by Davide for 13th. Nicolo Canepa was very, very upset with his Super Pole performance yesterday. He's currently running 14th, and the ever-consistent Roman Ramos, re-signed with Go 11 for next year, is 15th. Of course, a lot of needle further back in the field. As Steve said yesterday, only 8 riders in this field know for sure what they're doing next year. So all sorts to prove further back. Down into turn 1 again, and Torres there, a little bit too much speed right behind Haslam. But at the moment, this is very tight. 2.5 seconds covering the top 6 riders.
2 Kawasaki's the only riders at the moment lapping in the 157s, but of course it is early days at the moment. Then there's 6 riders in the 158s. In the background, Xavi Forres 112 and Vandermark are in 7th and 8th, but Michael Vandermark on that Pata Honda has been closing in on Forres, and I think he wants to be a part of this group, so expect a move from the number 60 man on 112 in a few moments. And also, look at this here, as Jordi Torres looks to try and charge past his teammate.
This is interesting here. Torres is quicker than Haslam at the moment, but the two of them are just about catching Alex Lowe bit by bit as they make their way around the lap. There's still a very, very long way to go here. We're only on lap 4 of 17. Top of the screen, as you can see, there'll be 13 to go still next time round. But look at that graphic there, top left. Jordi Torres was quicker than Davis, Lowe and Haslam last time round, and they are concertinaing up now. That 4-way group currently battling over 3rd, but they're not out of the victory fight yet. Let's see what happens. At the moment, for the record, 1 second then between 2nd place Rea and 3rd place Davis here on the number 7 Ducati.
Yeah, I suppose Davies and Lowe's at the moment are upsetting the Aprilia rhythm. Jordi Torres, his race pace looked exceptional throughout all of the free practice sessions, but at the moment he's not in the place he needs to be. He has got to find a way past his teammate Leon Haslam, and I'll tell you what, when Leon Haslam's on it, he's very difficult to overtake. He's had a few problems in the last couple of rounds, of course, with that bike, but, oh, look at that, Alex Lowe's even fancying a nibble on Chaz Davies. I cannot emphasise enough how much of a decent ride that is from Alex Lowe at this stage of the race.
As you can hear, those two Aprilia RSV4's right behind him now, and Alex Lowe wants to get on with this. This is Jordi Torres crossing the line then in sixth place. And look at Lowe, he's side by side with Chaz Davis. Fight going on for third. At the front, the two Kawasaki's very close, but this is Lowe, and he's through. He's past Davis, running slightly wide. Chaz will try to duck back up the inside. Side by side, the two Aprilia riders waiting in the wings. For now, Alex Lowe is through. Great stuff. The Suzuki is third.
Unbelievable here from Alex Lowe. This is reminding me of Buriram. Because that's the last time we really saw the Suzukis in a race being able to fly up there. Alex Lowe then, brilliant stuff. He's up into third place. The two Kawasaki's at the moment still lapping very quickly indeed. But look at this. Both Haslam and Torres are now charging up towards the pair of them. So Lowe is in second, Davies in third. Then it's Haslam and Torres. Now with these guys all bunching themselves up. By the way, Vandermark is past Forres. He now could close in on this group. We can have an exciting battle for third warming up here.
They'll all be panicking here that Jonathan Ray's going to pull away. If he can pass Tom Sykes, he might well pull away. At the moment, there's only 0.2 of a second between the two Kawasaki's. They're halfway around this lap, of course, split up into 4 sectors as always. There you go, then 3 distinct fights going on here at the moment. 2 Kawasaki's, Suzuki and Ducati, and then these 2 Aprilias. 91 is Haslam, 81 is Jori Torres, and as you say, watch out for that white flash in the background. There he is, Michael Vandermark, already putting clear air between himself and Forres. Vandermark, personal best, second sector of the race. He's absolutely on it, trying to catch these two. Oh, and Haslam very wide this time round.
Yeah, Jordi Torres for the last couple of laps has just been trying to weigh up. Where am I quicker than my teammate Leon Haslam? Okay, I'm losing time here, I'm gaining time here. And then, of course, once you've worked that out, you've got to take that risk of maybe braking a little later and finding a way past. At the moment, he might capitalise on a mistake because you just never know. When they all bunch up like this, anything can happen. He might actually want Leon Haslam to make the move on Chaz, which could give him the opportunity. Alternatively, of course, there is this beautiful long straight here, and look at Haslam's speed on that Aprilia. He's getting right into the slipstream now as Chaz Davies pulls alongside, says hello Chaz, goodbye Chaz, moves up into 4th place, but Chaz isn't giving it up.
Davis very, very strong as usual with that Ducati under braking. Can he repay the favour? Then he failed to repass Alex Lowe. Torres is trying to follow through as well. Torres looking over to the left-hand side. Poor old Leon Haslam, he's taken 1 and lost 2. So for one moment he's running 4th, now finds himself back into 6th. Haslam, no need to panic though, he can just watch Jordi Torres now. Can he do anything about Davis?
That was gift wrapped for Jordi Torres as Chaz Davies here looks to make a move on Alex Lowe. Torres really was struggling to find a way past Leon Haslam, and in the end, Haslam just opens the door, of course, having ran wide by trying to get past Chaz. In the process, Leon Haslam has lost quite a bit of time. Torres is getting a bit impatient here, desperate to move into the podium places as Alex Lowe bunches this side up. Meanwhile, at the front, look at Tom Sykes and Jonathan Ray. That one has closed right up now. There's under a bike length between them.
Yeah, this group, we're on board with Torres at the moment in 5th position, but this group are just over 2 seconds now behind those 2 green Kawasaki's. Desperate to catch them. There go the Kawasaki's through the frame. What an incredible fight this is then. 4-way conflict here from 3rd down into 6th position, and this man Jordi Torres knows it's his best opportunity by far to win a race so far this season. Now then, Davis trying to get on the power a little bit earlier, get better traction out of the left-hander there of turn 10. They're up through 11 now. This long sequence of 3 consecutive right-handers, 12, 13, 14, extremely satisfying to get this right. 15, which will be coming up just next, is the very crucial left-hander. Ray then now, right up behind Tom Sykes at the front of the race. Where do you look?
Yeah, it's difficult to know what to do. Interestingly, despite the fact that they're very close to each other, they're still pulling away from the rest of the pack. Alex Lowe at the moment is doing a sterling job on that Volcom Crescent Suzuki. He might just be struggling a bit on the exit. You can see his tyre going a bit sideways here and there. What this does prove, of course, is give that man a bike, and this is what he can do. Alex Lowe will be a handful next year, mark my words. Now down into turn 1, Jonathan Ray feints a move up the inside. Look in the background here, 2 of them trying to go past, and Chaz Davies finally makes his way through. Oh no, Alex Lowe straight on from 3rd place. He looks down. Something's gone wrong there with the Volcom Crescent Suzuki. Such a shame for Alex Lowe, and the dream there is just completely blown up in front of him as they're breaking down into turn 1. He looks down. No, it's just gone wrong. Yeah,
he couldn't get it to shift down, could he? Apologies, it certainly wasn't a mistake. He just could not shift down, stuck in gear, whatever. At the moment, then Davis Torres has them. 4 becomes 3, and Alex Lowe certainly out of contention, if not out of the race. He is still running at the moment, but at reduced speed, but dropping down the timing order. What a shame then for Alex Lowe. Hopefully better luck later on tonight when that second race starts at 10 o'clock. It's currently 7:15 local time here in Qatar. We mustn't forget Michael Vandermark, of course. He's closing in as well. I believe now Alex Lowe may have stopped at turn 2. Yes, there he is.
Oh, such a shame for Alex Lowe, but what it does do, of course, is just shows exactly what he is capable of. That bike is not a bike that can win races, and somehow he managed to push it up to fight for third. This is the battle out front then between the two Kawasaki's of Sykes and Ray. They've both dropped into the 58s, although you fancy that Ray might just be holding back a bit of speed at the moment. I think that Jori Torres here has got a bit more pace than Chaz Davies, and he'll gobble him up at some point soon. He might just be waiting to get round onto the start-finish straight here and use the power of that Aprilia. He can see what's happening out ahead. He wants to try and catch those Kawasaki's. And I wouldn't mind betting, you know, if he could get past Chaz, he might just be able to eat into that lead.
Oh, he nearly ran into the back of the Ducati coming around turns 13 and 14. That was mighty, mighty close. Torres then now is right up behind that Ducati. Look at Ray as well, distinctive line, just sizing up Tom Sykes. You get the feeling he's just waiting as they come through to start lap 8 of 17. 10 to go, but watch, where do you look now? Two Kawasaki's are almost side by side. Davis and Torres. Torres is ahead of Chaz Davis in the background. So for finally then, Torres is through. Haslam's going to try and take advantage. There's almost contact between Torres and Davis. Davis runs wide, now drops from third to fourth.
So easy to lose your braking marker down into turn 1, especially when there's a lot of slipstreaming going on. It can mess with your braking zones, and all of a sudden you go into turn 1 and you think, oh no, I'm going wide here, what's going to happen? And unfortunately Chaz Davis has dropped from third then down to 5th place, and let's just see a replay of that. He had to go wide there because otherwise he would have ran into the back of Jordi Torres, and unfortunately with all the dust there he's now lost a place, and Leon Haslam moves up into 4th. Now then, what can Jordi Torres do about the leaders? Well, I'll tell you, in one sector alone he's got 0.3 of a second on the two out front. The Aprilia's looking strong here.
There's Vandermark still closing in as well. He's just taken half a second out of Chaz Davis and co in the first sector of the lap. Of course, it was helped very much by the battle going on and the mistake for Chaz Davis. Interesting strategy here then for Jonathan Ray. He's made no attempt whatsoever to pass Tom Sykes, and I do believe he could have done so far in this race. We ride then with the new world champion. We're coming around the very, very long left-hander of turn 11 up to 12, 13 and 14. Difference in lines as well, but don't forget, as we said earlier on, he's on the C compound front tyre, Jonathan Ray. Yes, a little bit less grip, but far more predictable. It's a more consistent tyre. Now then, what are they thinking down on the Sykes side of the garage this time? It was brother Anthony on the right, crew chief Marcel Dwinker on the left, and look in the background, as you say, Torres is pulling out an enormous gap. He's now a second ahead of Haslam, number 40, we understand. Roman Ramos now has a technical problem and may have stopped over at turn 7.
Having started the race in the 157s, the Kawasaki's are now lapping in the late 158s. We'll have a look at them as they go across the line here. See if they stay in the 158s. Jonathan Ray there's lost a bit of time, hasn't he, as they go across the line compared to his teammate. A couple of tenths yet. Jonathan's gone into the 59s. Torres a 58 flat. I think that Torres is not only going to catch the Kawasaki's, but he could pass them. Jordi Torres could be on for his first World Superbike race win here, and these two might catch up as well. I've got a feeling, Greg, that the two Kawasaki's could be in trouble with their tyres already, with 9 laps to go.
Of course, you've got to go back to Carlos Checa for the last time we had a Spanish winner in the World Superbike Championship. World champion, of course, of 2011, went on to take some more wins after that. That really would be big news, of course, for Spanish motorcycle racing. In the meantime, then, look at the top left of your screen. It's 1.5 seconds at the moment between these two on the green Kawasaki's. There goes Jordi Torres. Michael Vandermark has now caught Davis and Haslam here in the fight going on for 4th, 5th and 6th. Further back, Forrest 7th, then it's Gintoli. Depunier is 9th from Leandro Mercado. Salom 11th, then it's Badavini on the BMW. Canepa, Vizziello's in the points again, and so is Gabor Rismaya in 15th position. Just to confirm who's out of this race, Camia failed to get away from the line at all, stalled on the grid. Lowe's retired when he was running right up with the hounds at the front of the race, and Ramos has just retired as well for only the 2nd time this year.
It's interesting, I'm watching this battle here between 91 Haslam and Chaz Davies, number 7, and Chaz Davies goes up underneath Haslam. In the meantime, look in the background there at Michael Vandermark, a rider that does not take any prisoners once that visor goes down. He'll be looking at these two saying, oh, after you, after you. No, there is no gentlemanly conduct with Michael Vandermark. He will take any risk possible to try and get past the pair of them. Meanwhile, out front, here's Tom Sykes and Jonathan Ray. The gap now is down to 1.4. Back to Jordi Torres in 3rd place. Brilliant stuff here from the Catalan in 3rd, who's looking for that first win.
Well, Look at the bottom of the screen, it was a full second quicker, Jori Torres last time, than Jonathan Rea in second place. What will that Kawasaki pit board be saying to Jonathan Rea? Surely now, there we go, Torres, yes, left-hand side, he's closing in, Jonathan, and Jonathan now knows he's got to pass Tom Sykes and put some air between himself and that charging Aprilia, which is now only 1.3 seconds behind these two Kawasaki's.
A telepathic relationship between Jonathan Rea and his pitman Arturo in full flow there. So you have to imagine that if Jonathan was going to make a move on Tom and try and pull away, then he would do. Is it just a case of the fact that he can't find a way past his teammate Tom Sykes or not? Here comes a move. Tom Sykes there looked like he was struggling for a bit of drive. And look at the Aprilia. The Jaws music is on. The Catalan is coming on the Aprilia, number 81. We said at the start of the year, what sort of celebrations would we have if Jordi Torres won a race? We might find out.
Oh!
Wow, my goodness me!
They're both wide. Torres will be right with them now. Surely, look how close that Aprilia is. Sorry, says Jonathan Rea, but it's not done anybody any favours. That Kawasaki, the Aprilia's right with them now. Still 7.5 to go.
Oh, brilliant stuff here from the two Kawasaki men. Even Jonathan knew that that was a bit naughty. That was late from the two Kawasaki men. Jordi Torres must be laughing his head off in third. He's thinking, carry on, boys, carry on. I'm coming through anyway. In the background, Davies is in fourth. Haslam was in fifth. And here comes the Dutchman, Michael Vandermark, on the Pata Honda, now moves into an incredible fifth place.
Yeah, Haslam's off 2 positions on this lap. Davis went through, I suspect it was over at turn 1, and now Vandermark's through as well. So Jonathan Rea leads, didn't give the lead back to Tom Sykes, I noticed, despite the error over there at the hairpin. And now Jordi Torres right up behind them. Jonathan can't give the lead back though, can he? Vandermark has then now passed Haslam. Confirmation on the left, confirmation in the background. You can see the Honda in front of the Aprilia. Surely Chaz Davies is too far back to close in on this lap. Then again, there's still 7 laps to go when they next come over the line. And Jordi Torres now can almost taste that rose water on the Qatar podium. 7 still to go.
It's overtaking manoeuvres like that we wanted to see at the very start of the season. It's going to be a spicy winter, and it will certainly be a fruity ride when we get out to 2016. Here comes Jordi Torres from third. Look at the speed of that Aprilia as they head down now into turn 1. Now, Jori Torres, you've got to be clever. You know that you've got the pace. Now you've got to use the racecraft. It's one thing catching, it's another trying to overtake them. And both of these guys have got world championships. Let's look at this again. Oh! Up you sit, Tom.
I know what Anthony was saying there, but we can't tell you.
Who doesn't? I mean, it's not difficult to lip read that. Anthony there, not happy with Jonathan Rea's move. The garage there of the Kawasaki team, of course, celebrating a manufacturer's championship, but there was certainly no teammate stuff going on there. The word mate is certainly the one that I'd pick out in question.
Very nice, massive question mark there. Continues past Mercado, by the way, further back in the field. So a change going on for 8th and for 9th. Haslam's dropping back. Vandermark is right up behind Chaz Davies still for 4th position. So top left of your screen, look at the difference in the lap times last time round. Torres much quicker, just playing the waiting game. Now that Jonathan Rea knows he just needs to try and pull away, and they both, of course, Sykes and Rea, know how quick the Aprilia is down the start-finish straight. As I said earlier on, they come out of that last corner, turn 16, in 2nd gear. They're up through the box to 3rd, and when they get to 4th, that Aprilia is much quicker than everybody else. Several kilometres an hour quicker down the straight on the run to turn 1. And what's lovely for Torres is that he's got so long left in the race to just size them up. Where am I stronger? Where are they weaker? Right up with both of them now.
Just as Tom Sykes is thinking to himself, I'm getting closer to Jonathan, I'm going to pay him back for that, he will have a problem on his hands because Jordi now is closing in. I'm not sure these guys are going to have an answer. And here comes Torres. Jordi, be careful down into the final turn. This is where he can wind on the power now of that Aprilia RSV4, get into the slipstream there of Tom Sykes, and then try and pull out at the end of the start-finish straight. Here it comes, folks. Jordi was 3rd. He's coming to the outside because Tom's making him go there. There's not going to be a lot of room here down into turn 1. Somehow he moves into 2nd. Can he hold it?
Oh, lovely move, the way he slotted in between those two Kawasaki's. That took some doing. Incredible commitment from Jordi Torres, and he starts lap 12 with 6 to go. Very much in that 2nd position, slotting in front of Tom Sykes. So 1 down, 1 to go. The new world champion is now the next target.
Yeah, Tom Sykes at the moment will be looking at Jordi and be saying, go on, lad, go for him. That's exactly what he'll be saying. He wants to try and fight it out with Jonathan. But look at this. He's just eating into the lead now of Jonathan Rea. Look at the lap times, and it tells you that Jordi Torres at the moment has plenty in the bag in terms of tyre life. Of course, the Aprilia's both on different rear tyres compared to these guys around them. In the meantime, out back, Davies in 4th, really is being hassled now by the Dutchman, Michael Vandermark in 5th.
Yes, and Nicolai Canepa's miserable weekend seems to be continuing. He's just pitted from 13th, so obviously a problem there of some kind with a tyre or with the Ducati itself at Altea. In fact, Canepa is out of the race, just confirmed here in the commentary box on the timing screen. You are watching an absolutely superb fight going on at the front of the race. Now watch this. That's the straight line speed advantage of the Aprilia. He's diving down the outside, right in the middle, Sykes on the left. Now he's got to be careful not to run into the back of Jonathan Rea, and already very much in front of Tom Sykes as they get to the braking zone of turn 1. These guys haven't had a victory for some time. You've got to go all the way back to race 2 in Australia with Leon Haslam for the only Aprilia win of the year so far. Of course, they did the double here last year with Sylvain Guintoli. Don't forget, Max Biaggi did a 4-day test here last week as well, and now Torres right up, feints to the inside. At least Biaggi was gracious enough to give them a bit of the data this time, we believe.
Jordi's just getting a bit impatient here, but this is where he needs to pull the pin. Onto the start-finish straight we go. Jonathan knows he's there. Here we go. Through goes Jori Torres into the lead of the race here in Qatar with 5 to go. Now he's got to get it stopped, and Jonathan is the world champion, and he says, "You're not having it this easy, Jordi. I'm sorry," but he can't get back past him again, and Jordi Torres goes through. Jonathan has a look over his shoulder. I'm afraid your teammate is still there. So Rea and Sykes look like they're going to fight it out for 2nd and 3rd. But what a race this has been so far for Jordi Torres.
So committed under brakes. And don't forget, Jordi Torres won that Moto2 race, the Moto2 Grand Prix at the Sachsenring in Germany back in 2013. A really, really difficult 14 into the World Superbike Championship, and he's had an absolutely superb year so far. He was already ahead as they crossed the line by 0.2 of a second. Jonathan Rea, though, as we saw earlier on with Sykes, will not give in. That Aprilia, though, is it just going to be pulling away? We know the start-finish straight, as long as he can get turns 15 and 16 right, should be safe. Rea's got to attack in the midfield section.
It's a colleague of ours that told us that this man might win the first race, and he'll be cheering a little bit at the moment if it does happen, but there's still a little way to go. And then you've got a question when it gets to the last couple of laps, what about the nerves? Jordi Torres said at the start of the season he was loving the fact that he was racing against some of these brilliant riders around him. He felt a little bit nervous at times racing at the sharp end with some of these guys. He's picked up a few podiums at the end of the season here. Now he is in prime position to try and take the result. But what about his tyres? The last lap, he was only a 10th quicker than Jonathan Rea. Will Rea and Sykes be able to do anything about these guys? In the background, Chaz Davies is still 4th. Vandermark is in 5th. He was catching Davies, but not anymore. Forres is in 7th. Then the 2 Frenchmen, Guintoli and Depunier. Depunier at the moment is on for his first top 10 finish since Australia, with David Salom in 10th.
Yeah, Mercado seems to have just lost a few places, doesn't he, there's been a real change in the midfield. Mercado's tumbled down into 11th position, seemingly lost 3 places in one fell swoop. There's that battle going on in the background. Everybody moving over towards the pit wall. That's Davis and Vandermark in the background, battling over 4th and 5th positions. But look along the bottom of your screen. Look at the advantage the Aprilia has in terms of top speed in the speed trap at the end of the start-finish straight. He was almost equal that time with Tom Sykes, but you've got to remember at the moment, Sykes is picking up a toe with that Kawasaki from teammate Jonathan Rea. Of course, Torres knew that early on in the weekend and then set the bike up better for the midfield part of the middle part, I should say, of the lap. And it's absolutely paying off so far. By the way, Haslam, real struggle now. He's 3.7 seconds behind Vandermark and all the way down in 6th place. Forres still 7th. Then it's Guintoli, Depunier, the 2 Frenchmen, David Salom in the top 10. What about Chaz Davies then sliding his way there down into turn 6? This is the slowest corner on the circuit, distant 4th, and don't forget the battle for 2nd in the championship. At the moment, it's going to be very, very tight. What would it be? 13 points, I believe, between Davies and Sykes going into the final race.
Yeah, at the moment, because Sykes is in 3rd, Davies is in 4th, it would be 13, but Davies would still be in pole position to try and take that one by the end of the day when we get into race 2. Of course, Haslam's misery will be heightened somewhat by the fact that it's his teammate that could be going on to win this race on the Aprilia. Leon Haslam was looking for a decent end to the season. Of course, there's still contract talk time, and at the moment, he's without a ride. He will not be too happy with the performance of his own Aprilia, and he will be even worse the fact that the rest of the team are celebrating Jordi Torres if he continues to stay out front on that bike. And there is a big if on that, because Jonathan Rea has not given up on this race win. He is going to test the Catalan out front here right until the final few laps. As we go across the line here, we'll check out the lap times. Sykes is struggling to stay with them. Across the line we go with 3 laps to go. Jori Torres posts a 1:58.6. Jonathan Rea a 1:58.4. So Jonathan Rea has still got a few cards left up his sleeve here as we look back to the battle for 4th. Chaz Davies there on the red Aruba Ducati number 7, still just up ahead there of Michael Vandermark.
Yes, this ain't over yet. Meantime, Randy Depeny on this lap's lost a load of positions. He was running inside the top 10, as you mentioned a few moments ago. He's now only 11th. He's being attacked there by Etan Badavini. What a battle this is going on. It's Gintoli, Salom, Mercado, Badavini through on Depeny, sits him up as well there for a bit of BMW delight. He goes through and up into 11th position at the start of what is lap 15. Just 3 to go. Torres then still leading this race. It was only 1/10 of a second through the latest split point. Marvellous battle going on here then in the lower reaches of the top 15. Here's your fight back at the front now. You've got to go back to Miller Motorsports Park, race 1, 2012, to the last time Carlos Checa won a race for Spain in the World Superbike Championship. They'll all be shouting words such as Binga back in Catalonia, but only 2.5 to go. Oh, look at Jonathan Rea though. We know he's got that harder compound front tyre on board. He's going to be very, very confident under braking for these really tight hairpins. Turn 6, turn 10.
Yeah, of course, there's a large amount of our Dorna colleagues here that are, of course, from Spain. They'll be rushing over to break the cellophane on the Spanish National Anthem CD, which will be going in very shortly, possibly anyway. But Jonathan Rea wants to put an end to that. We have heard nothing but the British National Anthem all season long in the World Superbike Championship, and that is going to stay that way if you ask Jonathan Rea. He is closing now on Jori Torres, and what has Jordi got left in that tyre? He pushed early on. Jonathan's now coming back to play. They're coming up to some traffic as well. There'll be 2 to go. This is going to get quite interesting. Jori Torres is just a couple of laps away from his first win, but here comes Jonathan now. We're on board with him.
And there's the championship standings bottom right, of course, focus there on second overall between Davis and Sykes. That will go on into the last race later on from 10 o'clock tonight. Imre Toth then will be getting the blue flag treatment here as we move into the penultimate lap. Just 10 kilometres to go. Over 6 miles to go. Toth has got the blue flag treatment and in fact run completely off the track and rejoins in the background. So that's that obstacle out of the way. No more traffic on the cards now then for these 2. Sykes a long way back now, 3 seconds further back. It's happened again to Tom Sykes, and look at this now. Rea right up with Torres. Now, where's he going to attack, Steve? It will surely be down into one of those really tight left-hand hairpins, one of them coming up right now.
Do you know what the interesting thing is here? If you look really closely, Jordi Torres is losing grip from the rear. Watch his rear end. Jonathan Rea is losing grip from the front. So, in turn, what that means is Jonathan Rea is catching him now on the exits of corners, but then when it comes to outbraking him, he's losing grip on the front. So there's this sort of concertina effect going on out front. Jonathan Rea trying to work out a way of passing him, but he has to do it cleanly. Look at Jori Torres' rear tyre. It's just like absolutely everywhere. It's sideways. Jori Torres here, he's running out of time. He's running out of grip. Jonathan Rea cannot find a way past him when he gets into the corners. Just watch his front end drifting as he goes in.
Yes, and they are on different tyre compounds, both front and rear. Rea's on the C front, Torres is on the B. Rea's on the B rear, Torres is on the A. And as you rightly say, we are very much seeing the differences here with 1.5 laps to go. Listen to Jonathan Rea just gradually applying the throttle. Very, very smooth is Jonathan Rea. Torres as well smooth, but this is going to be a real fight now. It might just come down to who wants it most as we get into the final lap of this race. 1 corner to go, and we will be onto the final lap. Now, this will be an interesting rehearsal for Jonathan Rea. Watch the run here through turn 16. How close will he be to the back of Torres? Where will he be in relation to Torres as they actually cross the line? He's dropped back this time.
He's going to have to hope for maybe a rear-end wobble from Torres as they go on to the start-finish straight. Now then, we begin the final lap of the race, and Torres is 1 lap away from his first World Superbike race win. Watch Jonathan Rea around this lap as he tucks himself into the corners. He's struggling to hold a line, Greg, there in second place, but he ain't the world champion for nothing, and he is going to try just about everything possible here to get past Jori Torres. This is Tom Sykes. He's in a bit of a lonely third at the moment, but Chaz Davies has been catching him, although I don't think he's got enough left here in this final lap.
Well, Sykes' rear tyre's gone completely. It was well over a second slower than Davies last time round. He might catch him. I don't think it will be enough, as you say, but it might change. Davies might be able to get Sykes in a bit of of a front end wobble that time for Jori Torres. We've got to concentrate now. We've got to focus on this fight at the front of the race. Right, turn 6, that's out of the way. That's where Ray, oh no, it's not. Here he comes.
Jordi Torres was too wide there, and you don't want to be leaving a gap like that to Jonathan, and that will have heightened the senses somewhat for Jonathan. Now he believes this is possible. What will happen here in the final half a lap as they go through sector 2? Jonathan trying to find a way past. He will definitely have the go here, Greg.
Yes, he will. Did you see how Torres was sliding his way out of turn 7 down into 10? Here he comes. He will attack. Surely, yes, he will. Can he get it stopped in time? No. Torres will duck. I can believe. Have some of that. Have some of that.
Brilliant stuff here from Jordi Torres. Both of them want the win for different reasons. If Jonathan gets it, he takes the World Superbike points record. If Jordi gets it, he wins his first World Superbike Championship race. And the pair of them are at it here in the final race under the night lights. Well, certainly the final weekend in the night lights. Here we go then. Jonathan Ray again struggling to hold the front end line.
Right, round the right-handers, down into 15. This is the penultimate corner on the circuit, one of the most important, because you've got to get a good run through here. Then down into 16. My goodness me, what tension down at Aprilia. He's got to get a run. He's gone for the wider line. Into 16. Oh,
around the
outside.
Jonathan Ray has tried it around the outside, but he's gone wide. Jordi Torres is going to do it here. An audacious attempt from Ray, but Torres wins his first World Superbike race in fine style here across the line. Brilliant race here from Qatar, and jubilant celebrations from the Aprilia team. And look how much it means to Jordi Torres. Greg, obviously we've spent enough time this season to see what a character Jordi is. You just know how much that will mean to him.
Well, he's been nicknamed the Spanish Elvis, hasn't he, by Tom Sykes all season long. What a character in the paddock. That is one of the most well-deserved victories we have ever seen, surely, in the World Superbike Championship. Sykes held off Davis, by the way, by just over 1 second. Then it was Vandermark has them. Forrest 7th. Salom there has moved up into 8th position. Mercado 9th. Then it was Gintoli up into the top 10. Badavini, Depunier, Rismeyer 13th. Marvellous race. Ponson finishes 14th. Picks up 2 points from a pit lane start. And then Vizziano, but there is your winner, the first Spanish winner in World Superbike since Checa in 2012 at Miller. And Aprilia are back to winning ways, their second win of the year.
Brilliant stuff here then from Qatar as Chaz Davies celebrates there and says congratulations. Here comes Tom Sykes to probably congratulate the Spanish Elvis as well. Says well done to him, and so too Michael Vandermark. He looks delighted for him. Good run there for Vandermark from 10th on the grid. Jonathan Ray, well, you can't really fault him for trying, can you? Around the outside at the final turn into Losail circuit. Unbelievable.
I just could not believe it from the angle we were watching from. I thought Torres was in front of him. He had to go for it, didn't he? That was incredible. And of course, don't forget, it's very dusty out there as well. Have you ever seen such a popular winner? This has been Jonathan Ray's year without a shadow of a doubt. Jordi Torres, every single rider who's gone past has made a real effort to slow down and congratulate the Catalan. Remarkable ride. We knew he was strong, didn't we, coming into the weekend? He's looked very good all weekend long. We must say as well, he came from 6th on the grid there.
Just watching here, Jonathan Ray, I'm wondering if he's trying to get up alongside Tom to say sorry about that move from earlier on. And, oh, there you go.
Cold shoulder.
That tells you all about it. No, and he's shaking his head as well.
Well, this is what we
and
expected.
Jonathan just says, "Oh, well, stuff you then, stuff you."
We expected this.
This is brilliant. This is brilliant. This leads you up nicely, not just for the final race, but also for the next season as well. Greg, I'm sure that you'll stir that up when you get downstairs in a moment. But this is fantastic stuff then. But well, there you see Anthony, Tom's brother. There'll be a bit said about that move between Tom Sykes and Jonathan Ray. There will be a bit said, and I wonder what celebrations await for Jordi Torres once he gets himself onto that podium. Well, you know, we're not short of action, are we, here? Even though the championship is done and dusted, there's still lots to talk about, and I'm delighted to see that we've got a new winner here in the World Superbike Championship, and for the first time we will not see a British flag on the top step of a World Superbike podium for this season, and there could be a bit to discuss down in Parc Fermé between Jonathan Ray and Tom Sykes. In fairness to Jonathan, he apologised on circuit and then apologised again after. Tom's not interested though, and Tom will obviously look to try and fight back again later on, and let's just see how he feels. Incidentally, that is now 548 points for Jonathan Ray. He is just a few away now from taking that points record away, and that is of course across the entire season. Now let's see the celebrations from Jordi Torres. Brilliant stuff here. There will not be a dry eye in the paddock here for him, because everybody loves him. He's such a great character. Even when he's had some bad weekends, he's always had a smile on his face, and rightly so. Fantastic addition to this World Superbike paddock. Per Arriba there just saying thanks as well, and well done. He's had to learn Italian pretty quick this year as well. He's been speaking in all sorts of languages this season so far: English, Spanish, Catalan, Italian as well. And now his team get their arms on him and around him to say congratulations. Always great to see new winners in World Superbike Championships. They're moments that always live long in the memories. Now then, let's have a look at this again. This was the move earlier on from Jonathan Rea on Jori Torres, and Jordi says, no, you don't. Puts the power back on and stings back past him. And then, this is the move on board with Jonathan, the same move. You could see he just ran slightly wide there, and back came Jordi Torres. Look at the Kawasaki team. They were absolutely desperate for another race win there. Then this is it down into the final corner. Jori Torres goes up the inside and tries to take a defensive line. Jonathan Rea around the outside. In truth, that wasn't going to work. That camera angle doesn't quite do it justice there, but it was good to see anyway, nonetheless. You couldn't quite see there just how wide Jonathan went. Either way, it wasn't enough. Jori Torres has got himself his first ever win, his fourth podium of the season, and his first win.
Doctor, sudor, tijera, bisturí, algo más.
Jordi Torres then, fantastic scenes for him as he wins the first race here, the 25th race of the 2015 season, ahead of Jonathan Rea. Sykes was third, ahead of Davies, Vandermark, then Haslam, Forres, Salon, Mercado and Sylvain Guintoli down in 10th place. Further back in 11th, Badavini, then Depunier. Gabor Risma picks up a couple of points for Team Toth ahead of Christoph Ponson. Vizziello then picks up the final point ahead of teammate Alex Phillips with Imre Toth in 17th. Canepa didn't finish, likewise for Ramos and Lowe's. Spare of thought, by the way, for Alex Lowe's, who was in third until he had that mechanical problem, and Leon Camia also, who didn't even get off the line. Celebrations down in Parc Fermé then for the top three. Gregory Haynes has made his way down there, and of course he'll talk to Tom Sykes soon. Chaz there looking a bit dejected. It's not often this season we've seen him off the podium, but it's not quite at it this weekend with the Panigale. It's not quite there, it seems, but Chaz will be back, believe me. He will be fighting for this World Championship next season. And at the moment, he holds on to second. Let's get down to Greg.
Well, Tom, truly dramatic race there for more reasons than one. Third it was, of course, in the end. I have to ask you about the move with Jonathan, obviously, and you tried to apologise later on. What's your opinion on that one?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're more than entitled to your own opinion, but it's, yeah, the move was no problem, honestly. It was... if it had been a bit more controlled, it would have been better. But you know, it was close to the limit, and we both, you know, had a deficit because of it of over 1 second. But you know, that's racing, and honestly, it was just a shame from my point, because I really thought we could have had a little bit better fight. But from early on, I wasn't able to pick up the bike and accelerate. So. Really need to go back to the garage and look at that, because that was one of our strong points yesterday in the run. So hopefully we can rectify that small problem for race 2 and have a better performance.
Good luck later on. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Very diplomatic there from Tom Sykes then, who finishes, unfortunately for him, in third place. The man that executed the move to eventually finish second and try for a bite in the end for also first place is the World Superbike champion Jonathan Rea. I should just point out that despite the fact that he missed out on the win, it is of course his 23rd podium on 25 races, and he's now just 4 points away, or 5 points in total from that points record.
Well, Jonathan, first of all, you're 4 points away from the points record in the season, you'll be pleased to know, so that one should be relatively easy later. But just tell us about race one, first of all. I mean, where do we start? There was the battle with Tom, the moment with Tom, the apology later on, and going around the outside of Jordi Torres at the last corner.
I mean, I give 200% in that race. We knew with Aprilia we were a little bit on the back foot on Friday, but I mean, I can't thank my guys enough because they worked their ass off this weekend to give me a really good bike, and come race, I was confident behind Tom. I was just trying to conserve my tyre. Then Turo gave me some signals that Torres was coming fast, so it was so difficult to pass. So I was committed to a move. I went for it, and then tried to put my head down. But Jordi was like a shark. It was like, and then it was like killed me on the straight. But I tried. When he came past, I tried 200% to stay there. So I'm really proud of my effort and proud of my guys for giving me a really good bike today. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Great sound effects there from Jonathan Rea. He'll like the fact also that that was his 65th World Superbike podium, number 65 podiums, although I'm sure he'll quickly want to move on to 66 later on tonight. Second place in the end then for the world champion, but what about the winner? Jori Torres, the man from Ruby in Barcelona, has finally got his hands on a race win, and what a race it was too. He will be down with Greg. Looking forward to hearing this interview. Jordi Torres, the winner here in race one.
Jordi Torres, congratulations, World Superbike race winner here in Qatar. The first non-British winner of the year, the first Spanish victory since Carlos Checa in 2012. Talk us through the race, though, and the fight with Jonathan.
Yes, it's really, really incredible for me, no? We work a lot, all the weekend. Not only I, but my team pushed a lot for this first victory with my team, with Aprilia this year. This is my first year. It's incredible. It's when one dream becomes true, it's amazing. I don't have a word for explain you, nothing. I am too excited, and I am happiness for this victory. But I know that after I have a second round, and this becomes more hard sure.
Congratulations again, Jordi. Just a few words in Spanish as well, please.
Pues la verdad es que súper feliz, ¿no? Durante todo el año he intentado eso, ¿no? A intentar hacer la lucha con los pilotos de delante. Al final lo hemos conseguido, hemos intentado luchar con ellos, he aprendido muchísimo y eso es lo que me hacía falta, ¿no? Tener esa capacidad de decisión y sobre todo de agresividad. Al final lo hemos conseguido, pero sí que es verdad que todo esto ha sido posible gracias a todo el equipo Aprilia, que me ha ayudado durante todo el año. Me ha tratado como un hijo suyo, la verdad, como un hijo suyo. Estoy eternamente agradecido, porque la verdad es que no se puede pedir más. Ahora nos toca la segunda carrera, así que empujaremos otra vez de nuevo a matar para ver si lo conseguimos de nuevo, porque sabemos que nuestros rivales han aprendido de esta lección y luego volverán con más ganas.
Enhorabuena, gracias. Thank you.
Let's see what that does then in a moment to the points. This is the moment, by the way, where Jordi Torres had to go onto the left-hand side of the start-finish straight to move ahead of Jonathan Rea, and there he celebrates with his team. Will he be doing the same thing again later on? Of course, race 2 will be coming up later on. Don't miss that. We've got World Supersport as well after this, but before that, we'll bring you the championship standings and, of course, the podium ceremony for race 1 before we bring you the final race of the weekend later on. But that was certainly action-packed and full of excitement there as Jori Torres gives Aprilia their first win since Phillip Island. Championship standings then after that, of course, Rea still out there. 5.52 is the target for him for the points record. Still up ahead of Davies, Sykes, Haslam. Torres there, you can see only 60 points behind Leon Haslam after that race win. Quintoli in 6th ahead of Vandermark, Biocco, Lowe's and Mercado. Further back there, Giuliano, Ballavini, Camia, Salom, Ramos, Tirol. Forres has moved up a few places despite only having raced in 5 this year. Then Canepa, Depunier and Biaggi. The manufacturer standings, that one's already wrapped up too. Of course, it went to Kawasaki, Ducati guaranteed 2nd, Aprilia guaranteed 3rd, Honda guaranteed 4th. Don't forget you can get involved, of course, on social media. Hashtag Qatar WorldSBK for this Pirelli Qatar round at the Losail International Circuit. Want to get involved, of course, follow on the website as well. All the action, we'll get reaction after this as well. Plenty of interviews still to come, stay tuned. And not just after today, but throughout the winter, we'll bring you all the updates as to who has gone where when we get the news. Sykes picked up that Pirelli Best Lap Award there with a 157.3. That was early on in the race. That moves him on to 7, but there's no catching Jonathan Rea. He has won that particular little championship. Fantastic Pearl trophies here in Qatar. Always well worth a win, they are, aren't they? Jori Torres will be looking forward to getting his hands on them. Jonathan and Tom, they're actually talking now, so it looks like Tom's calmed down a bit and maybe just thought, well, I'll probably just do the same to you next race and we'll see what you think of that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but it's nice to see that they're at least talking. Third place then for Tom Sykes. To see there, and both riders happy for Jordi Torres. There isn't a single person in the paddock that dislikes that man on the top step. He's been excellent value all year long. Third place then, that's Giorgio Barbier there, the racing director for Pirelli, handing over the third place award to Tom Sykes. It's his 63rd podium in his career, his 14th this season. Jonathan Rea picks up 65 podiums. And with that, it is his 23rd of the season. It's Jonathan's brother just on the right there, Richard as well, and Perariba. But the win going to Jordi Torres there. Nasser Khalifa Al-Attira, the FIM Deputy President and the QMMF President, handing over that trophy. Bunch of flowers for your efforts as well, Jordi. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant representative will now go and collect his trophy as well. Lucio Gomez, crew chief for Torres. Bunch of flowers for him as well. And then the Any trophy as well to Jori Torres. That'll be his first. And then the Spanish national anthem for race winner, Jori Torres.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, we stand up for the national anthem for the winner for Spain.
Now, the joyous Italian national anthem for winning manufacturer Aprilia.
Congratulations, and please...
Right, for the record, I've just quickly run back upstairs for you, Steve, because I'm just going to let you know a few words I heard behind the scenes there. I might get in trouble for this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I heard Jonathan Rea saying to Tom Sykes, I was just saying sorry, and I think Tom Sykes replied with something like, OK, I understand. There were some other words exchanged. I didn't quite hear all of it, but that was the general gist of it. Jonathan Rea has apologised to Tom Sykes. Quite naturally, Tom Sykes isn't best pleased about it, but there you go. There has been an apology.
I'm pretty sure that Gregory Haynes is covering up quite a bit of conversation that went on upstairs. There you see
the knee ground.
The knee ground celebration then Oh, Jordi Torres, he's done it, and that photo will go viral pretty quickly, I would imagine.
Hashtag knee ground, everyone. Hashtag knee ground.
Yes, hashtag knee ground, hashtag Qatar WorldSBK. A fantastic, thrilling race here for race 1, and we've got more of it still to come. Torres wins race 1. World Supersport coming up, and another cracking World Superbike race still to come later on. Stay tuned.